every day I'm watching them get drunk, yell at us, hit us every once in a while. And that was normal to me. I thought that's how a man conducted himself. I thought that's how you handle any issue you have going on with you. I thought you picked up a bottle and that's how you go with it. So when I was a little kid, I used to always sneak out into their fridge and steal beer and get wine coolers and stuff. And then by the time I was 7, one of my friends, his dad offered me a first joint. So I started smoking weed here and there when I was 7. By the age of 9, I was trying different pills and doing different things. But football for me was my outlet for everything. So when I was 6, I was 7, we were at a party at my aunt and uncle's house, and we were getting ready to leave. I remember being in my dad's car, and he was extremely drunk, but it was nothing new, really, for the same thing. He'd all get in the car, and he would follow my mom back to the house. Well, this time I was in the car, and we came over, got out of the car, then he was going to follow the car, putting it around, start fixing it into the bed. So on that drive home, I remember everything I decided to look over and smell at us and took off. I watched my dad hit a glove up in the 130. We threw 300 yards out of formation, and we ran outside the space off, the driving off, and that's still something I keep around my mom. But if I go back to it, I was in his car before he left. And he took me out. So from that very moment, I had a resentment towards God because I didn't understand what was happening here, why I didn't die with him. Because in my mind, I was supposed to be dead and I knew it with him. So after that, like I said, growing up how my childhood was, I was drinking. Especially once I started trying different pills, that was how I escaped from my reality. In my family, we never talked about how you were feeling stuff around the brother you moved on with. It was dope. It turned out that never worked for me. Age of 15, I got hurt playing football. And the doctor told me I couldn't play anymore. I lost. I was young on my way out of sauna. That was going to be my escape from everything that I had to become the person I wanted to be. And he prescribed me oxalates. I remember the first time I felt it, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This is the escape I've been looking for my whole life. So I remember going to a friend's house about a year after that, and he was like, why are you eating? He was like, smoking is the way to do it, and hit the gospel. So I started doing that, and the next thing I know, I'm selling them, just putting my own habit. At this point, my mom, she don't know what to do with it, she don't know how to handle it. But she still didn't kick me out of the house with it. She was still trying to do everything she could to help me. By the age of 17, tried heroin for the first time. I remember the first line I did of it, my buddy told me it was an option, times 10. I said, well, if it's that good, I know I'm going to do it. So I did that, the first time I did it, I truly thought I found the love in my life. And it was probably about 8 months after I started. I took, it was 32 Xanax, 3 Perk 30s, and like 2 tenths of heroin. I woke up 3 days later, this was the first time I ever dosed. I woke up and my brother was sitting next to me crying, and he was like, I gotta get some help. I don't want to make anything again. So I pretty much dropped out of school, went to my first detox ever, at the age of 17. And in the state of Ohio, if you're So that keeps going on until I'm 20. And my mom took me out and I relapsed again. And I ended up going to a buddy's house and I slept through a game building because that's what I did. I didn't care to think about anyone else except myself. As long as I had what I needed and I was able to do what I did, that's how it mattered. So, at the age of 20, I went to California for the first time to try to get out of rehab. I didn't go because I wanted to stop using. I didn't go because there was no reason for myself. It was because I was walking homeless again, and I was yeah, so California. I said California's nice. You're gonna buy my plane ticket for me. Let's go. So I got there and I was there for 30 days. I come back and in that pink cloud period, best I've ever felt in my whole life. And I get back and I'm doing all right for about a month. And then one of my buddies at the time, he was taking shaking bait, and that was the first time I tried meth. After I tried meth, I started taking in about 3 weeks later with him. And then about another 2 weeks after that, I was right back to doing what I needed. And so instead of just doing it yourself on me too. I gotta spit my own hat. So it was 2015. The girl I was dating at the time, we didn't really have two things to tell you. We just said good together and that's just what it was. We gave each other what we needed and we made a lot of money together. She ended up being pregnant and had my daughter on her. She was now 6 years old and she don't know who I am. I had custody of my daughter for 3 weeks because I was lying. I was lying to God and family. I was taking all my urine tests and my baby mom came home one day and said she felt a drug test so that CPS was on the way. So of course I did my fake ball and I'm warming it up so when I get there, they'll look like I'm all good. And I remember holding my daughter and trying to stop crying so I just didn't have to deal with the situation. Well, it turns out if you don't answer the door for CPS, eventually the cops are going to show up too. So, cops are there on the door, we got the house around. I ended up letting them in. They searched the house and they told me who was going to watch me do a ghost tour. So we're going to the bathroom together. I got my back to the stall, everything has a pen, and I used it for a pee, and then I thought I got away with it, but he didn't even catch me. And then he said the temperature was for me to actually test. Well, after that, he patted me down for my big bottle. I got obstructing official business, and he kept me at the rest of the world and took me away. And that was pretty much the last thing I had to do. There was no expense for all to go see her and stuff like that, but she let me hit me. And that's something I've had to learn to do. But I know being down here and me doing what I'm doing is the best thing that I can do. So, every year, I'd go out to California for 30, 45 days, come back, I thought everything would be doing great. But I would always fall back off. And then in 2018, I was working at this little factory in third shift. And my baby mom came home and she's like, hey, cops are all over the place. And so they were cruising around in their blocks. Well, all I wanted about being in trouble, so I really couldn't compete. I'll eat it before they found it. Well, at that point, I was already up for 8 days, and I didn't really know what was going on. But I took the radio on, I gave it to the board, and of course we got pulled over to block away from the house. I had a friend in his to make sure he was off the line. So they searched the car, they searched us, and I got charged with the possession charge. And I remember going through withdrawals and jail and stuff like that. And I called my mom, I thought they were trying to get me to buy me out. Back when I was on the youth and they kept calling me. Because nothing was ever my fault. Everything just happened to me. It didn't happen because of me. So they were arguing like 2 weeks later, and the first thing I did when I got out was get high. But every quarter appearance I went to after that, I went to drug test. So I was like, I'm going to get away with this and really see if it can be illegal. And then, at this point, I've had a lot of suicide attempts before this, but this wasn't that open. Really kind of changed everything for me. It was September, it would have been September 9th. I was getting ready to hang myself in the summertime, and the girl that I was selling dope to, she wasn't even supposed to be there, but she ended up showing up, putting me down, giving me CPR, saved my life. And just before I tried to hang myself, I remember sitting on my bathroom floor, crying my eyes out, cussing God, saying, either you're going to take me or you're going to save me. I didn't realize it at that time that that was God saving me. Because 5 days later after that, I got my probation violation, I got absolute tampering with evidence, and of course at that time, I'm trying to plead with my probation officer, telling him I'm going to lose my apartment, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. Because I will not feel that your help is going to die. And at that time, I was not. And I used to hope for it. So, going to prison before, I was finally to that point of desperation. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, my lawyer, and I'm so grateful for that in the day, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never been given the opportunity to come down with this. The judge doesn't want to go for it, the probation officer doesn't want to go for it. But he believed in me one day later, so he put it with the judge for about 2 months to give me a chance to rehab. In November of 2018, I came down to Pike County and went to Texas. Being in treatment before, I learned all the treatment talk. I know how to manipulate counselors. I know how to tell you what you want to do. So, there was counselors there that, see, all the counselors I had out in California, they weren't addicts. So, I never related. I felt like I never related to them. I felt like they were really not a good fit. And you can't tell me what I'm going through if you've never been through it. I told you, that was my mindset back. I remember, like, getting my first year at Edge Place, I had a counselor out there. And we were in a group, and she was like, nah, I'm going to die for your kid. I said, absolutely, why would you? She said, well, why the hell would you live here? And when she said that to me, it changed everything inside. It made me want to be willing to do what they were suggesting to me, because everything I've tried in my past, it didn't work. I've tried alcohol, I've tried weed, I've tried different drugs, I've tried 17, nothing ever worked. I just always went back to what I always knew and what I was comfortable with. And one of the biggest things that was turned out was, you have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. And it took me a long time to understand what that truly meant. And I meant talking about things that I never wanted to talk about with anybody. And then facing every fear I've ever had and turning every defect I've ever had into an asset. How to reframe my whole life. How to retrain myself the way I handle myself, the way I carry myself, the way I talk to people, the way I respond to people. Because my go-to was really friendly. I always wanted to explode, fight people, and that's what I did. And then I remember when I tell someone else, I can always give you great advice, but I can never take it home. And then I remember going over to the timeline and Ed's place, and the counselors out there, they were just drilling me because I'm not reflecting for the whole scene. And something really hurt me and just laughed about it. Where I got to the point where I understood I really had to feel it instead of just going to walk, because everything that seemed to hurt me, everything that bothered me, that was the reason I could never get myself together. So, when I first got to Ed's place, this is my first. When I first got there, the very first Saturday I was there, the counselor took me in, and she made me some self-harm contract. She knew I was suicidal. And when I got there, I wouldn't look anybody in the eyes. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I hated who I was and what I did. So she started having me doing positive affirmations. And at first I was just encouraged to go to bed, one day looking at myself in the mirror and talking to myself. Then after 30 days, I started to really sink in. I started to be able to put my head up. I started to be able to look people in the eyes. And I started growing. I started facing everything I never wanted to before. I graduated Ed's place in March of 2019. I went to a transitional program in Pike. And at that point, I was still a hot mess, but it was a spiritual program, and that was something I had tried before. So I was there, and I always needed positive reinforcement from people. At this point, me and my wife were talking, but I'm also talking to like 6 different other women, because I needed a bunch of attention, and I needed other people to feel good about myself. I still wasn't at the point to where I truly love myself yet. It kind of comes back to me being selfish too, because I wasn't thinking about what my actions were going to do to her. I never took that into consideration. So, I ended up coming to the point where I realized that place wasn't for me. And I talked to my lawyer, and he was like, listen, I need you to stay there for 2 weeks. You're still on furlough. And we're not going to make it 2 weeks. He's like, just sit still. Well, I did. I left early. And I ended up going back to jail for like 2 weeks. And something I was teaching myself at that time was when I seen people in active addiction or different things, I was using as coping skills and reminders to remind myself of what I never wanted to get back to. The whole time I was in jail, people getting high and dying of problem next to me. He tried to jump off the balcony and try to kill himself. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I got into the men's transitional down here locally. And when I got there, that was when I really started to grow there. I mean, I came along with it. I got where I needed to. I had spiritual side out of it, basically. I met some pretty amazing people. He's my best friend now, by the way. He was telling the spiritual mentor, and he gave me a different perspective on things and how I never seen it before. But I mentioned transitional. my counselor, that Justin Canadian, he taught me how to reframe my thinking and think before I act. And I really played a tape for me. And every time I would do something I was supposed to do, it would be like being cooking. Oh, congratulations for doing what you're supposed to do. Welcome to being an adult. Because I always had counselors that always tell me you're not that special. And it took a long time to get that through my head. I just really don't like that. So, at this point, I got a better relationship with my family than I ever had. And my mom, it took me weeks at first place to really begin to talk to her again. It took consistency for me. And the whole time I was out there, I never told her I was sorry. Every time I went out to California, I told her I was sorry. She didn't want to hear it anymore. She wanted to shut up. I told her that's what I was going to do. So I graduated AC additional. We do a very good job of half. And I wanted me to get outpatient. And I think I was lucky. I've already beaten everything until they gave me down. So it's December 24th, December 23rd. And I was in this is going to be we inherited into a huge fight. And the case we were at that time, it wasn't the best environment. There wasn't nothing wrong. So I ended up realizing at that point, I'm calling everybody back home. I've already made my mind up. I'm going to go back to salon. I'm going to stop and get my way. I'm going to start some work again. I'm a failure, and this is what it was. That's the way of thinking. If it wasn't for my wife taking my phone and pretty much locking me in the bedroom and saying not me, I would have been there. I would be even better than thinking. So, for about a week, I stayed locked in this bedroom, trying to work through all the guilt and shame I had, staying again, and trying to reframe my thinking again. So I called literally outpatient, and I actually go there. And Jason Shirey, he kind of changed my whole thinking about it. My very first session, he asked me how I was feeling. I was like, guilt, shame, everything like that. And he's like, well, you must be one of a kind. You're a drug addict in the relapse. And he's like, that doesn't happen. I said, a lot of times I said, well, I guess it won't. So then we started working on everything that I still needed to, teaching myself how to be grateful, teaching myself how to be content with what I have. Gratitude, gratitude in my life. And I had a goal the whole time when I was at X place. I was ended up being away from the encouragement and being able to give back. It's given to me the guidance, the hope, everything. So I had to give myself a goal because I couldn't be hope for somebody else. So have secrets in the heart. So, I'm sure that the job is true. But I strive every day to be better than I was yesterday. So now, we finally moved into our house. It's been a long time period. We've been super patient, very earnest. Every day I wake up, I go to work, I come home. I spend time with my best friend and the love of my life. My whole life, what I've ever wanted was peace of mind. And now that I have it, I'm taking pain to get it well. But I also always keep it in the back of my mind, knowing one choice away from being real quick. I knew. said, thank you guys and God bless you.